My name's Michael, and at 37, I thought I had life more or less figured out. I work as a regional sales manager for a mid-sized logistics firm in Ohio. I've always prided myself on being dependable, hardworking, and frankly, a pretty decent guy. I married Emily when I was 30, she was 29. Back then, she was this vivacious woman with a sense of humor sharp enough to match my own. We clicked over bad puns and cheap coffee, and I thought I'd found someone who'd stick with me through thick and thin. For years, life was good. We lived in a modest home in a small town just outside Columbus. No kids, by choice. Emily said she wanted to focus on enjoying life, and I was on board. It was the kind of life that wasn't glamorous but felt solid. We took vacations when we could afford them, spent lazy Sundays watching bad TV, and tackled life as a team. Or so I thought. About 2 years ago, things started to shift. We moved to a slightly bigger city because my job required me to be closer to the central office. At first, Emily seemed excited. New places, new people. But the cracks began to show almost immediately. I was putting in 60-hour weeks, grinding to pay for the new house, the new car, and the little luxuries she liked. She, on the other hand, was at home. And apparently, bored out of her mind. Emily had never been tech-savvy. She'd use her phone for emails and the occasional Instagram scroll, but that was it. Then one day, she discovered TikTok. At first, it was harmless. She'd show me silly dance videos or funny clips she found, and we'd laugh about how people wasted their time online. But within a month, it wasn't just funny clips. It was her life. She started making her own videos. It began innocently, cooking fails, relatable married life jokes. Then it escalated. Suddenly, my 35-year-old wife was uploading videos of herself doing dances and lip-syncing to corny pop songs. At first, I found it amusing, until it started consuming her. Dinner became a thing of the past. She'd be too busy editing or replying to comments. I was coming home to microwave meals and a wife glued to her phone, reveling in her 1,500 followers. One night, I tried to talk to her about it. Emily, I said gently, I think it's cool that you're finding something you enjoy, but can we talk about, balance? Maybe cut back on the time spent making videos. Her response was unforgettable. Michael, you just don't get it. This is something I'm passionate about. I'm finally expressing myself. You wouldn't understand because all you do is work. I didn't even know what to say. Since when was working hard a flaw? I let it slide, thinking it was a phase. But then came the fights. They started small passive-aggressive comments about how I didn't support her dreams. Then they snowballed into full-blown arguments. One night, after a particularly heated exchange about the pile of dirty dishes in the sink, she snapped. I'm tired of this, Michael. You just don't appreciate me. I'm stuck in this house, wasting my potential while you go out and live your life. I need freedom. That word. Freedom. As if she were a prisoner in a suburban home she had begged me to buy. A week after that argument, she hit me with it. We were sitting in the living room, me scrolling through work emails, her typing furiously on her phone. She put it down, crossed her arms, and said, "We need to talk." Nothing good has ever come from those words. I've been thinking, she began, her tone rehearsed. I'm not happy in this marriage anymore. I feel stifled. I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. Stifled? Emily, what are you even talking about? I mean, I've changed. I'm not the same person I was when we got married. And I don't think you've changed at all. You're still, you. The way she said, you, made it sound like a slur. Okay, I said slowly, so what are you saying? You want to work on things? Therapy. She shook her head. No, Michael. I think we need to separate. Or, maybe open the marriage. I swear to God, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Open the marriage? Are you serious? What's next? A YouTube apology video. She didn't find it funny. I'm serious. I just feel like I need to explore other options. I don't want to hurt you, but... Stop, I said, cutting her off. Don't say you don't want to hurt me, because that's exactly what you're doing. And explore other options? What the hell does that even mean? Her face hardened. It means I want a divorce. I left the room after she dropped the D word, needing air, or maybe just space to process the sheer absurdity of the situation. Emily and I had argued before, sure, but divorce? Because she was stifled? Because TikTok gave her the delusion that she was some budding influencer? It felt like I'd been sucker-punched by a bad rom-com plot. The next few weeks were uncomfortable, to put it mildly. We avoided each other as much as two people living in the same house could. I spent more time at work, while Emily threw herself into her content creation, documenting her journey of self-discovery. I couldn't believe how brazen she was. She made vlogs about how she was, reclaiming her independence, and healing after years of being stifled in a traditional marriage. And she was gaining followers. Followers. People were eating this nonsense up, leaving comments like, "You're so brave, Queen," and "Leave that deadweight behind." I didn't say a word. Not yet. I knew where this was heading, and I was already planning my exit. Our divorce negotiations were mercifully short, mostly because I refused to drag it out. Emily didn't want much in terms of assets, probably thinking her influencer career would pay off soon. I offered a one-time settlement instead of alimony, and she jumped at it, no doubt imagining her new freedom-filled life funded by brand deals and Bumble dates. But here's where her delusions met reality. Before the ink on the divorce papers was even dry, she started telling me about her new chapter. Apparently, she joined Bumble and was thrilled at the attention she was getting. "I'm not going to waste my time with losers," she said smugly during one of our last conversations. "I'm only matching with successful guys who can keep up with me. You know, real men." "Right," I replied, keeping my face neutral. "Good luck with that." It didn't take long for Emily's new life to catch up with her. About a week after our divorce was finalized, I got a notification. Emily had posted a new vlog titled, "Ghosted After My First Date, What Happened?" I couldn't resist. I grabbed a beer, kicked back, and clicked play. The video was almost comical. Emily, with her carefully curated lighting and sad piano music in the background, recounted her first post-divorce Bumble date. "So I matched with this guy Brad," she began, trying to sound nonchalant. "He seemed perfect. Successful, confident, a homeowner. We went out for lunch, mini-golf, and dinner. It was amazing. He even invited me back to his place to watch a movie." I smirked. I already knew where this was going. We talked the next day, but today he ghosted me. Blocked me on Instagram, unmatched me on Bumble. I just don't get it. He said he was intrigued by me. The video ended with Emily holding back tears, saying something about how she was still learning to trust after intimate betrayal. The irony was almost poetic. Watching Emily crash and burn was satisfying, sure, but I wasn't done yet. The settlement I'd paid her was generous, too generous. I wanted her to feel the sting of regret, and I wanted it to hurt. So I started doing my own healing in the most petty way possible, by thriving. I signed up for Bumble myself, but unlike Emily, I had no delusions about finding the one. I knew what I wanted, a little fun, a lot of distraction, and maybe a way to rub my success in Emily's face. Within days, I matched with Jessica, a 28-year-old fitness instructor with a sense of humor as sharp as her abs. We went out for drinks, hit it off, and one thing led to another. The next morning I posted a photo on Instagram, me and Jessica at a rooftop bar, her arm around me, both of us grinning like idiots. The caption? "New chapters aren't so bad." I knew Emily still followed me. The thought of her seeing that photo made my coffee taste sweeter. Over the next few weeks, Emily's vlogs took a darker turn. She started posting about how dating in your late 30s isn't what I expected, and how men her age were either emotionally unavailable or just looking for a quick fling. Her followers were still hyping her up, but the cracks in her confidence were showing. Meanwhile, I was busy enjoying my new freedom, working out more, meeting new people, and watching Emily's downward spiral from a safe distance. Then one day she reached out. "Michael, can we talk?" Her text was short, no emojis, no exclamation points. I let it sit for a few hours before replying. "About what?" She called instead. I didn't answer. A voicemail followed. I just I think we ended things too quickly. Maybe we could talk about, trying again. I didn't reply. What was there to say? The same woman who had called me deadweight and gloated about her freedom was now crawling back, all because reality didn't match her fantasy. I deleted the message, poured myself a drink, and toasted to the best decision I'd ever made, letting her go. Emily's voicemail wasn't just desperate, it was predictable. The same woman who thought she'd conquer the world with TikTok dances and independent woman speeches now wanted me back. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger. What I felt was vindicated. But I wasn't going to let her slink back into my life without delivering the message she so richly deserved. After all, I'd spent years breaking my back to give her the life she wanted, only for her to toss me aside the second her ego inflated. It was time to make sure the lesson stuck. I waited a few days before replying. Just enough time for her to stew in her regret. Then, I sent her a simple text. Sure, let's talk. Meet me at Java House, 7 p.m. tomorrow. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. She wasn't the confident, smug woman who had demanded freedom. She looked tired. The makeup she used to plaster on her face didn't hide the stress, and the spark of arrogance in her eyes had been replaced by something that almost resembled humility. She sat down, and we exchanged awkward pleasantries. Then she launched into it. Michael, I've been doing a lot of thinking, she started, her voice shaky. I think I made a mistake. I raised an eyebrow, staying silent. I thought I needed to find myself, I thought there was something more out there for me. But dating isn't what I thought it'd be. And the whole social media thing. It's exhausting. She let out a weak laugh. I guess I didn't realize how good I had it with you. It was almost laughable. The same woman who had declared herself too independent to be with me was now asking for a do-over. I leaned back, letting her spill her rehearsed speech, until she finally asked, "Do you think there's any chance we could try again?" I leaned forward, keeping my expression calm. Emily, I'm glad you've had time to reflect. But let me be honest with you. Her face lit up, briefly. She clearly thought I was going to say yes. You were right, I said. We weren't working. But not because I was too traditional, or because you needed freedom. The truth is, I spent years giving you everything I had, and you repaid me by treating me like a backup plan. And I don't want to be anyone's backup plan. Her smile faded. Michael, I didn't mean. I held up a hand. Let me finish. You wanted freedom, and now you've got it. Enjoy it. But don't come crawling back to me because your reality doesn't match your fantasy. You made your bed, Emily. Now lie in it. Her eyes filled with tears. I thought you'd understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said, standing up. And you should too. You're not upset about losing me, you're upset about losing the comfort I provided. And the thing is, Emily, I've moved on. You should too. I dropped cash on the table for my coffee and walked out. As I left, I glanced back. She was sitting there, shoulders slumped, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. Since that night, I haven't heard from Emily again. Her TikTok has gone dormant, her Instagram posts have slowed to a trickle, and from what I've heard through mutual friends, she's back living with her sister in a tiny apartment downtown. Apparently, the Bumble dates dried up once her age and intentions became clear. As for me, life's been good. No, life's been great. I've started traveling more, taking up hobbies I never had time for during my marriage. I'm dating casually, nothing serious, but I'm having fun. I even got a promotion at work last month. Every once in a while, I think about Emily, not with anger, but with the kind of detachment you'd feel for a character in a movie you've already seen. She played her part, and now her story's over. Mine, though? It's just getting started. And if there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that sometimes, the best revenge isn't just watching someone crash and burn. It's walking away, thriving, and letting them see what they lost.